Hey everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm Phil,
I'm Derek.
and it is time for anything. Today we are with our friend Autry talking about gaming.
The numbers don't lie.
The numbers don't lie, Autry. Where do we begin?
I don't know. I don't have the PowerPoint open in front of me, but I guess as good a place as any to begin would be like, what do video games do for you guys? Why would somebody want to be interested in playing a video game in the first place? You know, I mean, what is the point of it? Why not just read a book? Why not just watch a movie? Why do you play video games, Derek?
Well, what got you into it?
What got me into it? I mean, as early as I can remember in my life, I mean, I've just always been playing video games. It was actually my dad who got me into it. The earliest memory I have of video games is when I was 4 years old. And I was watching my dad, who was a gamer at the time, now despises them, but I was watching him play the original Resident Evil 1 on the PlayStation 1
Dude,
back when I was 4 years old. A very hardcore introduction to gaming for a young boy like myself.
That's insane.
That was my first game.
But it was always just like so captivating to me. Like it was just like I would watch the game and like I would like feel all these emotions that I never experienced before. Like I was always like I would see something happen and I'd be like really scared or I'd be like really happy. And just the ability of a game to like evoke those types of emotions in somebody is similar to like reading a really brilliant work of writing or something, you know?
Yes.
Like it evokes that same sort of feeling from you. Like it's able to
Definitely.
evoke that emotional response, which is really what I look for when I play games personally.
Yeah, I think that's a great comparison. It's a lot like a book in the sense where you're kind of being immersed in whatever the contents of that video game is. My first video game was I was gifted for kindergarten graduation, which don't know why I needed a gift to graduate from kindergarten, but you know, got it nonetheless. It was Pokemon Yellow, which I didn't even really know how to read. Like, you have to understand, like, I'm in kindergarten. I am 6 years old. I can read at a kindergarten level. So, you know, whatever dialogue is going on in the video game, I mean, I'm picking apart words, but, like, in general, there are some things that I didn't really know
That's
what was
hilarious.
going on.
Yeah.
I still trudged through the game. I don't even know how I did it, but, I mean, I played it.
Wait, was that Pokemon Yellow?
Pokemon Yellow was really tough because the first gym leader is a rock type, and you pretty much have Pikachu, and you can catch a Pidgey, or you could catch like a Rattata, or just it's in general just Pokemon that are not effective against rock types. So you just spend your time grinding.
That's what you gotta do.
Yeah, a while.
It's so weird that you bring up like the subtitles and like the reading aspect of it at such a young age, because that was a really big thing for me. Is like when I was really young playing video games, like 4, 5, 6 years old, I would always play video games with the subtitles on, and like that was like supplemental to like me learning like how to read in general, and
Yeah,
like me learning
incredible.
to expand like my vocabulary, because like I would always see like all these big words on the screen and I'd be like, I don't know what the funny man is saying.
Yep.
And like after a while you just like start to pick it up. And like I'm not tooting my own horn or anything, but like I always used to have like teachers would call like an advanced vocabulary when I was young age. And honestly, like I do largely attribute that to me playing video games and just like picking up different words through like all the different games that I played.
I never really
Well,
thought
yeah.
about that.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when you have actual dialogue being played through your speakers. With Pokemon, it was just like clicks.
Mhm.
It doesn't read it for you.
Well, the,
So-
the good
so,
thing about it was
yeah.
it would list it, and then you had to like hit a button to continue to the next piece of dialogue.
Right, you hit
So no
A.
matter how slow of a reader you were, you could just take your time to read it. Unlike subtitles, they just go and then they're on to the next one.
That's true.
Pokemon's kind of nice because you can just read it, take your time, then go to the next one. If you're
That's true, unless
Not
you're
a
playing like an
proficient
RPG and it's responsive, so like, you know,
Yeah.
NPC asks you a question or kind of engages you, and then you have choices
Options,
as to
yeah.
what you say.
Yeah.
Why do we play video games? Entertainment.
yeah, I guess so.
Shout out to entertainment episode.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah, there we go. What,
that is mostly what it boils down to. I mean, like I said earlier, for me, it's just all about the ability of games to like elicit some sort of reaction from somebody, which some would call, you know, art. I mean, art elicits emotional reactions from people. If a piece of art, you look at it, it makes you feel something, that's art, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Games have always had like a very profound effect on me. Like I went through a big stint in college where like I was really into like creative writing and stuff. And like more than anything to me, like today, games have become not so much like I play them for the entertainment value, but I just view them as like really good works of fiction, you know?
Yeah.
Like there are a lot of games today that have like such good storytelling and such good writing behind them. Like it doesn't even have to be a game. Like you could make a movie out of some of these things.
That's true.
Or I mean, you could try and hopefully not botch it the way that Hollywood does with a lot of game.
Well, look at Witcher.
related
Wasn't Witcher
movies.
a book, and then Witcher was a game, and then,
And then
Witcher
it was a
became
game,
a show?
and then Henry Cavill went in and did his thing on Netflix, and
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, it was
insane.
honestly a smash. I loved watching that.
Yeah.
I guess it makes sense. Like, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
I'm just thinking back to my first experience with video games. Was probably, I don't know if this is my first experience with video games, but I know that the first time I ever played Halo, I was 6 years old, and I played Combat Evolved in Texas with my cousins. And it now, I don't know why I never thought of this before, but it now makes perfect sense why I have such an attachment to that game.
Mm-hmm.
And Derek and I played through the campaign of Reach, like when that first came out.
Oh yeah.
That is the Halo Reach has the most emotional campaign of any game I've ever played, and now obviously that's not saying it's the most emotional campaign of any game ever. That's not. I
But
really
I think
don't
within
think that's the
people
case.
that like Halo,
Yeah.
that's pretty agreed
Yeah.
upon. I mean, there are people that have their preferences,
Right.
but
Yeah,
in
I can see
general,
that.
yeah,
Because-
Halo Reach had a great campaign.
Spoiler alert: everyone dies.
Everyone.
Everyone dies.
That is a tough spoiler. to
So
swallow.
you're just like, you're like, these Spartans, they're tough. They're not afraid of anything. Spartans never die. They just go missing in action. Ha ha.
You gave people 0.5 seconds to pause before that spoiler. He said, spoiler alert, everyone dies.
I hope they had enough time to tune out in
but-
there. It's so
no,
funny you mentioned Combat Evolved as the first game that you played too, because I used to play that as a kid as well, and like I was super good with it, like up through most of the story, and then you get to the point in the game where it's like the first time the Flood are introduced,
Dude.
and like you watch like that soldier's like helmet cam of like everybody just straight
Yeah.
up getting massacred by the Flood, and my blood went cold,
That was
man.
terrifying.
Like I couldn't even finish the game after that. I never finished Combat Evolved because I got to the Flood level and I was like, I don't want to do this
Thank
anymore.
God I was playing it with my brother, because if I wasn't, I wouldn't have been able to play it. I was so afraid.
Yeah,
Terrifying.
the flood is pretty terrifying as a concept,
It's
and
just-
also just in general, the artwork for it is
nasty
like
space
gross.
virus
Yeah, it's
Oh, I
very
can't do it.
infects
grotesque.
people.
I can't do it, man. That's
Yeah.
too much for me.
I guess I play for a bunch of reasons. I kind of realized that it depends on the game. When it comes to RPGs, and it for the immersion, I want to, be a mage or like a battle mage or, two-handed specialist or something like that. Not that I want to be like in real life, but you kind of get involved with your own character.
I mean, if I
in
could
a
go
sense.
fight dragons, I'd probably do it.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, yeah. I mean, obviously that would be cool. But then there's games like Rocket League, which I play heavily, and it's more for competition and skill
Yeah.
because there's a lot of skill that goes into it, and it gets very competitive.
For sure.
At times toxic,
Yeah, you're
but
not kidding.
competitive. Yeah.
What makes you such an Xbox fanboy?
Here we go.
Okay.
All right, let's
All
get
right.
into the hot and heavy
You know what?
stuff
This is
now.
official. I've never had to defend myself on record, but here it is. First things first.
I could just see it in your face. Yeah, go ahead. Let's
I'm
hear
like,
it.
pain. Community. I know. Autry just spontaneously
No, it's okay.
busted.
I think I just shat my pants.
Okay. Maybe this is just my own bias showing, but when I play Xbox, typically, if you're in game chat, it's like your expected level of toxicity. It's a lot of name calling and talking crap and all that stuff. When I played PlayStation, I noticed a lot of squeakers, which are just little kids playing video games with a microphone.
Yes.
And it's loud in your ear, and you're like, "Why are you playing this M-rated game?"
Yes.
And in general, I find the party chat in PS4 to be kind of cumbersome. I find the whole, like, I guess you could call it, it's not an OS, but the dashboard.
The UI.
Yeah, it's very cumbersome to
Because
me.
you don't know it.
Yeah, sure. But at the same time, there are just certain things where, like, you have to go through, like, multiple layers just to get
Fair.
to YouTube, or you have to, like, just take those extra steps where, like, on Xbox, I can pin something and just be like, yeah, it's right here.
Yeah, see,
And
I'm
it's like,
well
okay,
versed in
right there.
Xbox 360, but that's as far as it goes. I've switched to PC
Right.
after that, so I couldn't really relate. But sure.
I will concede on the exclusives because I think that was Microsoft's ultimate downfall, is that they couldn't secure exclusives, and the ones that they didn't do enough to evolve their game. Gears of War had a shot.
It did.
They did.
It was very healthy for a while too, and
Yeah.
they just really just ran it into
They
the
never
ground
fixed
after
the
a while,
servers.
man.
They
Like,
Look
never
at Halo
changed.
now. Like Halo's not even gonna be an exclusive. It's
Dude.
gonna be on PC. So now Xbox
Yeah.
is almost just kind of screwed.
the Master Chief Collection on Steam, by the way, is a very good time. I gotta say.
Yes, it surely is.
But you
I'm still
put
trying
like
to get
a
that
game
hooked
like Halo Infinite next to a game like Halo 3, and it hardly even looks like they're the same series anymore. Like there are so
Yeah,
many
that's very
changes
true.
that have been made like across the years that it just does not feel like it's even Halo. It feels almost more like a Call of Duty clone, if anything.
Infinite?
Yeah.
I
They've
would
been getting
definitely say
closer
Halo
and closer.
5. I
over
would say
years.
Halo 5 feels like
Yeah.
a Call of Duty clone.
I'll agree with that for
Yeah.
sure.
5 is garbage.
I guess another reason why I'm an Xbox fanboy is that I typically don't play exclusive games, or at least I don't have a care for it. Maybe I should. Maybe I should like expand.
Yeah, so you're
my
like, I don't
video
even
game
care about
palette.
playing the games on PS4.
Right, but
yeah.
most of the games that I play tend to be available on all platforms.
Yeah.
With the exception of Halo, but not anymore. Could care less about any game of Gears of War games that come out at this point.
Yeah, me neither.
3 was the last one for me that was like solid.
Yeah. And I think that plays a big part of it for a lot of people too. But to be fair, I do think Microsoft is getting a bit better in that regard. Like I don't know if you guys saw, but this past September, Microsoft acquired Bethesda.
Yeah.
Or to be more accurate, they acquired ZeniMax, which is the parent company of Bethesda.
Yeah. Wait, sorry. What? Dang, who's the guy? You're gonna say it. I'm gonna know.
Okay.
Bethesda studio head.
Todd Howard,
Todd Howard. What's his
or as I
name?
call him, Todd Coward.
Todd Howard. Does he still have his job?
Yeah, he's still in there.
Okay. All right. Anyway, continue.
But that's a deal that's been in the works for 3 years now. Do you guys even want to hazard a guess as to how much Microsoft paid to buy them out?
Oh, geez. I think I remember seeing something like 15 mil, but I could be off.
Yeah, it's pretty close there.
I want to say higher. I want to get close to 19.
Yeah, you got it. It was 7.5 billion.
Okay.
And
You got it.
which sounds insane, but you consider like it's Microsoft, the guys who made Windows, and that's like honestly like a drop in the bucket for them.
Yeah, they own Windows, a console.
That is a
Yeah.
ton of money.
But the thing
That's
is,
still a lot of
and I
money.
have the stats here to back it up.
The numbers don't lie. Autry.
That's what I'm saying. The acquisition of Bethesda and ZeniMax was made public by Microsoft in September of 2020. Immediately following that, Microsoft saw an 86% increase in the sales of their Series X consoles and a whole slew of new customers on their current and last gen consoles, as well as a wide array of new subscriptions on their Xbox Game Pass. Overall today, since the acquisition, like right now, all of Microsoft's business units have brought in $43.1 billion in revenue, which translates to $15.5 billion in net profit. It hasn't even been like it hasn't even been a year. It hasn't even been half a year. And they have already made enough to buy ZeniMax out again twice over. They haven't even released anything yet.
I know, and that's kind of my concern. Look, I am a fanboy, but I will, say put your money where your mouth is. Like, what's the point in buying Bethesda's parent company when Bethesda hasn't, and I will say this, put out a good game since Skyrim?
Yeah, but even even Skyrim was like...
It walked the cusp.
It was
Yeah.
better than Oblivion...
Debatable.
No, hold up. It was better than Oblivion as far as appearance,
Yes.
but they detracted from a lot of things, and that was very frustrating. So, yeah, Skyrim was a good game, but it wasn't as good as its predecessor. But I don't know.
And you can really tell they're kicking the bucket when they re-release it 6 times after launch across like different like consoles and like remastered versions and like updating it for modern generation consoles. And it like, at what point do you just like call it quits and be like, okay, we're gonna move on now? Like how much more money are you really hoping to get out of this now very aged game?
Well, so that's the thing is, okay, 2 things. Number 1. Grand Theft Auto does the same thing. However, Grand Theft Auto is still coming out with new content.
Yes.
Okay? Now, Skyrim is not. However, you could argue mods. Okay, you could argue mods. I guess, sure.
Yeah.
Second thing, why the hell is Xbox Live Gold not free if you have Game Pass, or vice versa? Right. For those who aren't familiar with, the Game Pass is a subscription for Microsoft that you pay, and then you get free games because you subscribe. It's like
it's like the Netflix of games. Honestly.
Yeah. What was up with that GameFly? That was the thing like years ago.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to that?
That I don't know. It probably crashed really hard. They had so many. For those who don't know, GameFly was like this service that you would pay for, the subscription-based service where you would go online and you would pay the fee, and then they would send you a physical disc of a game that you wanted. And you would have like a week, a month, like sort of lease on the game, and then you would have to send it back. Yeah. What I think happened is the problem was too many people were getting the games and either not sending them back or sending them back in damaged states.
Oh.
And like the thing is now, like I'm pretty sure GameFly is no longer a thing. I'm pretty sure, I can't hard confirm this, but I think like about a year ago I saw a headline on Twitter or something, a very reputable source of news, I know.
Right.
That they were shutting down and they were like liquidating all of their stock and like selling the physical copies of the games that they had left for like dirt cheap prices. Like, I don't think there was any...
It was like when Blockbuster by us went out of business.
Which was sad, by the way. Back in the day, I used to be a big go rent a game from Blockbuster kind of guy all the time. Oh my god! I got
Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2 for $4.
Good stuff.
This is from 2018. Gamefly, and I quote, Gamefly plans to shut down its video game streaming service at the end of August 2018, according to the company's support line and messages being... Yeah, whatever. So
2018.
It was founded. Yeah, it was founded in 2002. Makes sense.
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just you can't get around the fact that everything's digital now, and I can't remember the number. I'm gonna pull this out of my butt, but I think it was like 70 or 80% of games people own now are just all digital. Almost.
Numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but they do, and I don't have the actual number. But it's the majority of video games are digital now.
Yeah. I think that's safe to say.
Yeah.
Without like looking that up. I mean, GameFly definitely got into it at a good time in 2002. But what, Xbox, like the next gen came out 2006.
Wait, what?
Xbox 360, PS3.
360 was
like,
2006.
Yeah. So I would say around 2006, that's when... And I don't know if you could digitally download games right off the bat when it came to...
I don't think that was a thing right away. At least not like full like AAA length games. They definitely made like Xbox Live Arcade games, like little like 500 megabyte downloads. Like those were definitely downloadable at the start, but not anything bigger than that.
Yeah, I remember when they started offering that, and I was like, oh, why would you want it digital? That's sketchy, because I was however old and I didn't understand how, like, I don't know. It's just one of those things where, like, why would you buy a movie on Amazon? That just doesn't make sense, because then if you're not, I don't know, whatever.
I guess it was kind of uncharted territory, and people are naturally skeptical when it comes to anything that hasn't been tested and proven.
Yeah, it's probably the equivalent of like, well, why would you stream music when you're going to just buy CDs, is how people thought. And now music's just digital streaming, and video games are just essentially the same thing.
And to be fair, digitally buying games back then was not only super sketchy, but just straight up bad, because compression for larger games and like file sizes that you were downloading straight to your hard drive were enormous. And back then, game consoles didn't have like very big hard drives. Like you would download a game, like a full length game, and it would take up like half of the space on an average hard drive that your console was coming with. And it makes that, like, it's not sustainable at all. You would download one game, play it, and then delete it and download another? Like, that just takes away from the accessibility of the whole thing. It detracts from the very idea of downloading games digitally.
Derek, what's the size of your Xbox hard drive?
360?
Yeah, no, your new one, whatever, Xbox One?
It was 500 gigabytes, which is too little.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, just straight up too little.
Because you have like an OG Xbox One, don't you?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like OG Xbox
on
One.
rotation, have like 6-7 games that I'll uninstall and reinstall back and forth. It's kind of a hassle. I'd prefer to just have the next gen, but kind of waiting. I don't know. I'm not sold yet on buying a console. I recognize the benefits of having a PC, and I know you both game hard on the PC.
Yeah.
And I think more of my friends are moving to the PC format, and that's another thing. Okay, so like, I guess we could move on. You know, what does video gaming do for us? For me, it's in no particular order: social interaction, leisure, sort of entertainment. It's competition.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could throw in relaxation with leisure.
And like an element of like escapism to
Yeah.
it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are people that, I don't want to say abuse, I don't think that's the right word, but overplay video games to an excessive amount, and they're not monetizing off of it.
Well, I was just
It's
about
one
to-
thing if that's your lifestyle, because we have, and we'll get into this later, actually, I have a slide for it, you know, the monetization of playing video games and what video games has done for people in terms of profiting off of their skills.
Yeah, and it's a valid thing to mention too, because like even like the World Health Organization has declared like video game addiction is like a real thing that like a lot of people struggle with. And like if you are somebody that like sits at your house and like puts the same amount of time into video games as you would like a full-time job, like that is going to legitimately like do mental damage to you.
Well, I'm gonna be
that
fully
is
honest.
100%.
I think games like Grand Theft Auto are kind of dangerous, and I know that's controversial. And I'm not saying it's because you're killing digital people, because I have a really fun time killing cops in that game, but I don't think I'd have a fun time actually killing a person. But so now they have a casino in the game in which you
I
can.
would hope not.
I don't think he's like,
They now have like a casino in the game, so you can spend your Grand Theft Auto money and poker chips to gamble in the game. And then I kind of wonder how many people are thinking, well, hey, I can gamble on roulette and Grand Theft Auto. I should try this in real life. And then people go do it, and then they get addicted to gambling. And I don't know. I'm kind of stretching.
well, you can gamble
But-
online now, like real, like
Yeah.
not
Well,
it's virtual gambling. You're
Right,
gambling
right.
real money directly.
Online.
You're not.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you could. Actually, I don't know if you can buy coin in Grand Theft Auto. Like
What?
it's like a pay to play like equivalent. Like you can buy money.
Like pay
can.
for in-game currency?
Yeah.
Oh, you absolutely can.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they have shark cards or whatever they're called. That's their only form of monetization in the game. That's what I like about them, is that there are no DLC you purchase. There's nothing else except for if you want to buy in-game money. What is it, $100 for $1 million or something like that?
Couldn't
I don't
tell
know.
you.
But I just grind it out.
Yeah.
But I did
I
notice,
think a lot of people do.
I started
Or
playing Grand Theft Auto recently, and the whole point of that game is just get money to buy more things, right?
Yes.
That's all you do.
I've never been
And-
enthused by like the gameplay style of Grand
Me
Theft
neither.
Auto. Like you drive around and you're like, oh, this looks pretty cool, and then you
It's-
do that for what, 4 hours? Like,
Yeah,
what am I
it's
supposed to do?
fun, but I don't
It's
know.
a satirical life simulator kind of.
I guess.
Yeah, I think
Like
I-
it's not life because obviously you're doing things that just nobody would do.
Like I can't actually
normally.
fly a helicopter over a city and jump out, parachute onto the street, and no one cares.
So
Right.
true.
Right.
You kind of like live out your fantasy.
I think I did notice, though, to be frank, the drive and addiction to purchasing things in Grand Theft Auto almost carried over into the real world. And I was thinking, like, well, I could just buy that. And then I'm like, well, why do that? And then I had to realize, like, I haven't gone crazy with purchasing things because I caught myself, but I was sitting on the couch last night and I just had this revelation. I was thinking, oh my God, I think I randomly have an impulse to just start buying things because I've been playing Grand Theft Auto, in which the only thing you do is just buy things. I don't know if that's ridiculous, but
I don't think
it
so.
could be a lot of things outside of Grand Theft
it
Auto.
really could be. Yeah.
I think in general we kind of live in a materialistic world.
Yeah.
It's such a cliche thing
At
to say.
least-
Oh, materialism, consumerism.
At
blah, blah, blah. But like, no, I mean that's like, you see that. Like, I have family members that will buy things frivolously and
Like, why'd you buy
like
that?
things they don't need or things they already have.
Yeah.
I've been bad with clothing. Like, I don't actually no, I've been good with clothing. Like, it depends on how you look at it. Like, I wear some articles of clothing that I've had since I was in like 9th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's a vintage look.
yeah, it's a vintage look, but also like it fits me and it's not torn to shreds.
I haven't bought a pair of shoes for 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think there's a healthy level of like, you know,
Wait, that's
consumerism and
actually
like
a lot.
spending your money. There's nothing wrong with that. But people kind of take it to extremes, just like with gambling or, you know, any sort of other addiction. You just end up kind of catching yourself in this hole.
Yeah.
Or you don't. You
Yeah.
fall. So we kind of touched on it already, but like, what does video gaming do for us, really? Is it productive? Would you say it's productive?
It's mildly productive.
Right.
Sorry. That's just my opinion.
I mean, it can be productive, but more so than anything, at least for me, what video games do for me is it works to stimulate the mind, honestly. It's just like opening the doorway to new experiences, new types of stories that you really wouldn't get anywhere else if not for video games, you know? It exposes you to new types of fiction, new types of work that someone might find themselves to be interested in that they may have not previously considered before if it did not come in a video game format.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think it can be productive in the sense that, you know, like you're learning new things in the same way that you would read a fictional book or maybe even nonfiction. Like there are games that sort of hug the edge of nonfiction and try to be historically accurate in some ways. I'm not going to say Assassin's Creed because it's not. But it's cool enough to...
You don't think people jumped across buildings and jumped into hay bales?
Yeah,
We weren't there. We don't know. Anything could
Leonardo da
happen.
Vinci made a gun gauntlet.
Okay, sorry, I'm not saying... People probably did jump across buildings, but gun gauntlet and landing in a pile of hay from 100
From
feet.
100 feet? Yeah,
Right.
I don't know. That seems pretty realistic to me, I gotta say.
Right. Maybe at least it's kind of like Vinland Saga, an anime that Autry and I read and watch. You know, it takes place in historically accurate time periods, and there are events in there that are historically accurate. But
Yeah.
the characters' actions and the things that go on out, like revolving around the character, are not. That's fiction.
I think I've had like a big problem with video games the past couple months in not the way you're thinking, in the sense where I don't really play them. Now, Halo just came out with a new season for MCC, Master Chief Collection, and James and I just got back into Grand Theft Auto, so I've been playing a little bit of that.
Mhm.
But there were probably like 2 or 3 months where I just barely even touched gaming because every time I sat down at my computer and I'd be working on something, I was thinking, dang, every minute I'm spending just playing a game right now, I could be refining the website or figuring out new ways to improve the podcast
Yeah.
or writing something or reading something or figuring out a way to be better at something. I don't know. There were a few months where anytime I even tried to play a game, I'd probably play for 30 minutes and I was like, I'm wasting my time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely based on perspective, but I think that for a lot, like especially my brother, playing a video game is essentially an entire waste of time within reason. Like, yeah, he still plays games sometimes, you know.
I was going to say, he used to play video games a lot.
He used to, yeah. And I mean, yeah, he plays games with his fiance sometimes, and sometimes I hop on with him and play, but it's like he's just so focused on writing his book or doing something else that he's like, if I'm spending 30 minutes on a video game, I could have spent 30 minutes on my book.
Yeah.
So that's kind of just how I see it now, and it makes it really hard to delve into a game when almost every time I'm playing a game, I could be doing something else more productive at the moment. So,
I'd say that's very healthy too, honestly.
I guess so,
because
yeah.
a big part of playing video games is being able to find that like level of balance in the way that you're distributing your time.
Well,
and people who don't have that level of balance are the types of people like mentioned earlier who like do develop like addictions to playing video games, and then like they lose concept of how much time they are actually spending playing a game, and it detracts from everything that is going on in their very real day-to-day life. You know?
I honestly think until I moved out of my mom's house, I definitely had a gaming addiction. And I think it was mostly that, well, I mean, as you both know, my dad died when I was 10. So the easy thing to do was play a video game to escape everything. And that comes kind of back to that escapism we talked about. It's like, well, I'm anxious and I'm thinking about the fact that dad just fucking died. Let me just play a video game and forget about it. And that began the process of what I would do all the time, anytime I was worried or anxious about anything. it was just play a video game to forget about whatever it was.
Right.
And now I have a much better grip. Jesus, this angry orchard is just punching me in the mouth. I have a better grip on my stress and my emotions now, and I think now anytime I get stressed, I'm like, I'll just meditate or something. I don't know, but yeah, I think
playing
that's
a video game is okay too.
Yeah, it's okay. Again,
There is a certain
abuse.
level of
Abuse is the issue.
escapism that is acceptable. I
Right.
Had a conversation with my friend Sarah this past weekend. I got a chance to see her.
Shout out to Sarah for making our
Shout out
logos.
to Sarah for making
Thank
our
you,
logos.
Sarah.
She's a fantastic artist, dude. She is so successful.
Yeah,
I'm
our
so
Time for
proud
Anything
of her.
logo is fantastic. Anyway, continue.
So proud of her. We were talking about, this is way out there, but it kind of relates to what you're saying. Feral children. And how...
What?
Yes.
Go on.
Okay, so...
Feral.
Let me
children?
reel it in. Let me
Alright.
reel it in.
Yeah, reel that.
I took the
reel
bait.
that in.
So we have like limited studies on the effects of being reared up or brought up in basically outside of society, outside of civilization, in the woods, in nature, whatever you want to say. There are a few examples of children who grew up and everything they knew was either like a room or a forest maybe, and one way or another they were found and rescued, and the thing is, it's really hard for them to be reassimilated back into society. In fact, one of the feral children I'm mentioning killed herself after being reassimilated. And I think we were talking more about like the illusion that society brings, and I think the reason why we have drugs, alcohol, any sort of mind-altering substance, escapes in general, is because there is this sort of dullness of society that we kind of have to crunch time out of. And that's okay. I don't think that's like, well, I mean, it's not perfect, but that's the reality we live in, so it's kind of like, what are you going to do? I mean, at first I was like, oh, I hate that. I hate that aspect of society, how it's just kind of like all a grand illusion. Like, money's not truly real. Like,
It's just digital numbers. The numbers don't lie.
not even the numbers, but just the idea that, like, okay, if you really wanted to do something and, like the world had to commit to one thing, right?
Yeah.
Money just wouldn't be a factor. Like, if it were do or die, it's like, we have to do this or we all die.
Yeah.
People would probably just volunteer to do it.
I would like to think so.
And at least expect, food and shelter and their basic needs satisfied.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be a great situation to be in. But, like, on the positive note of the illusion of society, we are comfortable. Like, we get to watch Netflix at night. I get to
play video games.
read a book. We get to play video games.
Hey, look at that. It's
So-
almost like it fits the episode theme or something.
So, yeah, like, it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world to have escapisms. It's just like, or escapes. It's just, you have to be conscious in just how much you use those escapes and whether or not you're abusing them. Yeah, video games are an escape. And I think, personally, that's okay as long as you're aware of that and don't abuse it. Just like anything else. I wouldn't say the same thing about like hard drugs like heroin or meth, because the addiction factor and like your chances of being addicted are raised dramatically versus something like video games or marijuana or like things like that. But you can still fall in that pit trap. It's still there.
Yeah. It
Um,
all comes back to that dopamine release.
yeah, it really does.
As,
Chemicals in your brain.
As my friend John will say, we constantly search for that dopamine release.
It's true.
That's his thing. I shout out to John. Wonderful, brilliant young man.
Do you guys think that the portrayal
Right,
of doing or performing activities like doing drugs or killing people in video games, do you think that translates at all to a person's like actual mentality in real life? Like, it's sort of an extension of like the argument of like, do you think that violent video games make people violent?
I remember when I was young, there was a game called Bully and parents were really up in arms about bullying.
Because wasn't it about just beating people up constantly?
Yeah, you're a bully.
Yeah, it's just a high school student going around beating the shit out of people. Am I allowed to swear on this podcast?
Yeah, you're fine.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I see, I don't know.
It's tricky, right? Because, like, on one hand, like, you would like to think that people who are behind the controller and performing those acts have a certain level of, like, decency in their mind where, like, they recognize, like, okay, like, I'm doing this in the game, but this isn't something I would ever do in, like, real life.
The totality of the people that, like, if we had a hard number for each of us on the number of kills we have on video games, like, we would be disgusted with
how many
ourselves.
things have I killed in a video game?
So I don't think it's really that bad unless you're taking it to that level to where you like really mentally immerse yourself.
I remember
you're like, this feels good.
Yeah. So personally, I'm a believer in karma, and it was just really funny because I was playing Insurgency. It's a military shooter with my brother the other week, and I'm just like gunning down terrorists. And I jokingly said to him, like, if I'm killing people in a video game, am I degrading my karma? And he goes, no. And I'm like, oh, okay, makes perfect sense, because they're not actually conscious beings. And it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of funny, because, yeah, you think about how many things you've killed in a video game, but they're not, quote-unquote, real. Anyway.
I saw an Adventure Time death count.
In Adventure Time?
Yeah, like, throughout the entire series of Adventure Time, like, Finn and Jake have killed multiple people.
Wow, just on a big homicide
like,
spree, huh?
Like, very casually have, like, I watched an episode with, like, I guess Marceline, the vampire queen, was being, like, emotionally and abused and manipulated by her ex.
Nice.
And at the end, like, Jake literally just crushes him.
Okay.
With his foot.
Just
like, they're, like, beating the crap out of him.
Damn.
And they're like... And then Jake's foot just comes in, murders him. And you don't see him anymore.
So
he's dead.
Autry asked the question of, like, and I'm paraphrasing, but I guess the way I would interpret it is the way that you perform in a video game a representation of your character, is the way that I interpreted kind of what you said. And it makes me think of Grand Theft Auto just because that's what I've been playing recently.
Yeah, it was one of the big staples. I mean, like, games like Grand Theft Auto and Mortal Kombat were like the two that were like really put up on a pedestal in terms of like the amount of violence that they show.
I don't even think it's really violence. I think it's okay, if I'm killing NPCs, you know, like what even does NPC stand for?
Non-player character.
Non-player character. That's what it is.
The numbers don't lie.
That's a word. Like that I'm not really even concerned about. It's mostly just anytime I'm playing online with James, I'm thinking, so let's say you do something where you pick a mission, and the mission is steal the car. Okay? When we get in that car, a global signal goes out, and if we're in a match with 15 people, those 15 people can come kill us and take our car and drive away. Okay? Anytime that pops up for us, we never even consider doing it because we've discussed it and we go, well, I don't want to go kill other players trying to go steal a car right now because I know that if I were that player trying to complete this objective and some jerk in a car drove by and shot me in the face and stole my reward, I'd be pretty angry. So I'm just thinking, I don't want to screw over other players.
I am toxic in video games.
Like I don't want to make other people in a video game suffer who are real people and not have a good time because I know I wouldn't want the same return to me.
That's exactly how I think about it too. Like I used to, like you spoke earlier about how like you suffer from like a case of video game addiction early in your life. Like when I was in college, I would go to class in the morning, I would come back, and I would literally spend like the rest of my day grinding out like ranked League of Legends matches like online against other players. And like some of the things that I have seen like other real people type to their opponents is like degrading, like humiliating, like really like
I'm
awful
not even gonna
stuff.
begin to say it because they say some horrible.
Like they're not
racist,
kidding when they say that the
things.
ESRB does not rate online interactions in video games.
Wait,
because
that's such a
goodness
good
gracious.
point. ESRB does not rate online interactions.
Yeah, it always
Right.
pops
There's
up
no
right
way
before
they
you
could.
go into the
'Cause
multiplayer
the
menu.
game's rated T, and then you get into a multiplayer match, and some kids dropping the N-bomb at you, and you're like,
We
why?
refer to that as the gamer word in our culture.
Really, that's what it is?
Yeah. we would hear somebody say, we'd be like, oh, someone just went and dropped the gamer word in there. We're going to have to step out for a minute.
Why? Why are people so toxic?
If I
because
may,
there's no accountability.
yeah, that's a big part of it. And I feel like on top of that, like a lot of people, at least in my experience with like League of Legends, which again is like an extremely competitive player versus player game, like people get on and they perform to the best of their abilities, almost like they have something to prove. Or
Yes.
like there is something like they are trying to send a message to the people that they are playing against.
Yeah.
And when things wind up not going their way, like you really wind up seeing the worst in people.
Yeah.
I think that's actually one thing I really hate about Rocket League is
It's very
is at the very end
very competitive.
you're the winning team and all your cars are lined up and then you can do these like flips and tricks and everything and I just like I most of the time
You're
just
the car that
purposely
sits there.
no I flip myself upside down and land on my roof so that it looks like I'm an idiot because I'm thinking all these people are doing these fancy tricks because some dude gets into that screen and they go, oh yeah, check out these moves I can do, and they do all these tricks. It's like, dude, no one cares. Like, you really want to show off about how cool your
At
tricks
that point,
are?
the game's already over.
It's
Like,
over. You've
what
won.
do you have to do?
What do you have to prove?
Yeah, there are those moments where you're just absolutely outclassed in a competitive video game, and yeah, like you're right, people do show their true colors. I typically troll at a passive aggressive level.
Yeah.
Like if we're getting beat bad, I'll like put someone's the lowest score. I'll put it in chat. If it's like 28, I'm like 28, and they know, and they'll check it and they'll be like, oh, that's me. But then I'm also losing, so I can't really talk shit.
Right.
Um.
I just, blah.
So video gaming can be
go ahead.
competitive.
Yes.
But it doesn't have to be.
No.
No.
You can just enjoy a video game for fun, and there are video
Skyrim.
games that are strictly for fun. There is one thing I actually want to jump back. Now that we moved on, I would like to jump back. You talked about like karma in video games.
Yeah.
There are multiple video games that take into account morality, and the overall gameplay is affected by your morality.
Fallout New Vegas.
Fallout New Vegas, the Fallout series.
Or a game like Dishonored or like Deus Ex, where like they
Dishonored,
give you the option of going through the game. Like it's a game that is centered around like completing your objectives by any means necessary, and it's a path less traveled by. But they give you the options in those games to go through the entirety of the story without being violent toward anybody, without killing a single person. And it affects the direction in which the game goes and the story that the game tells you. Like it can completely differentiate your ending from another player who did decide to take those actions against NPCs, you know?
Yeah.
You ever seen that meme where it's like anytime you're trying to go through a quote unquote bad playthrough in a game, but like you just can't do it. Like you just can't be mean to the characters. Like I think of playing Mass Effect when I'm like, I just try to be nice to everyone because I appreciate everyone. But then you try to go through a playthrough where you're an asshole, and I just can't do it.
I'm always reminded of that
just
scene
feel so bad.
in Mass Effect 1 where like this news reporter comes up to interview Shepard and like she starts asking him some really hot and heavy questions about his past, and you have an option to just punch the reporter across the face, this poor female woman who's just trying to do her job. And it's just so crazy to me. Like I just can't bring myself to do it. Like it's funny on one hand, but on the other hand, like I like to sort of play characters in open-ended games like that, like sort of similar to how I would imagine myself navigating those situations in real life.
Yeah.
And punching a reporter who's asking me a question just does not fall in line with my morality, to be
I
honest
definitely
with
agree.
you.
I have
continue.
I have had some playthroughs. Like I remember the first game that I dealt with morality affecting the game, literally. Fable 2. And it's one of my all-time favorite games.
Good game.
That was a fantastic game.
The
first one was really good.
The first one was good. The second one, I guess that was when I really first started getting into video games, so that just kind of sticks with me.
Good time to do it. I'd say Fable 2 was the best in the series, honestly.
Yeah, it was great.
You see, they're bringing it back. There's a new Fable coming out. They didn't really show anything. It was just a cinematic trailer that Microsoft showed
That's how they do.
not too long ago.
Yeah.
And
Well,
by the way,
that's what happened with Fable 3, and I got
hate
disappointed.
cinematic trailers in video games.
Really?
I would much prefer that you're introducing me to a new game for the first time. Show me gameplay. Don't show me a cinematic trailer that is not at all going to be indicative of what the gameplay of the final product is going to be like. Show me the gameplay first, and then add in the cinematic trailers afterwards to give it some substance, you know? What I want to see is how the game really runs. Go ahead.
I think the problem with that is when I look at games like, for example, Halo Infinite, when they put out their trailer in 2018, they only were just starting to figure out the engine. So you almost couldn't have even put out a gameplay trailer because they didn't even have the gameplay ready. So that's a fair argument. However, I do generally agree with you. Just wait until you've got gameplay somewhat figured out to even put out a trailer. But whatever.
Well, Fable 3, that's what happened to me. I mean, the cinematics for it seemed great, and I was just coming off the high of Fable 2, so, you know, I was really excited for it, and it turns out...
Wasn't it kind of poopy?
They just watered everything down. Like, you couldn't customize your own weapons. You could, but, like, everything was kind of... There was, like, a path. Yeah. Like, you couldn't... In Fable 2, you could go to an anvil, create a master longsword, and use that and augment it with different sort of spells and abilities, and use that sword that you create, even give it a name.
Yeah.
And they had, like, legendary weapons as well, but they just watered it down.
And that's part of the thing with, like, how games are made today is, like, nowadays, like, games look obviously much better than they did back in the day, but, like, they set you up with, like, the illusion of having, like, so much more choice than you did in previous titles, and then you actually wind up playing the game, and it feels like you have less options in how you go about doing things than you did in older games.
That's
like,
very true,
there's
actually.
much less that's put into it.
Halo Reach, that was, like, kind of peak customization when it came to your individual, and you truly felt like that was your Spartan.
I will say I'm very excited for Infinite because they have mentioned that they're going to take all the customization options you had from Halo Reach and go beyond. They said what they want to do is take.
But they say things and they do things, and they're not what they say.
It's Microsoft we're talking about.
I know, and I agree, but so I'm just taking their word for it. But they did say we saw everything we did in Halo Reach, and we wanted to take that and go beyond. They said, quote, I'm paraphrasing, so not quote. Sorry, like they want to essentially try to add every armor from every Halo into the game. Wow. I think that's insane.
It's kind of a tall task, actually.
Yeah, it's a tall task. But anyway, sorry.
So, wow, we've covered productivity when it comes to video games.
Yeah.
Competitiveness, obviously the social aspect of it's there. Video games can be informative, not always, but you can take away real life knowledge from video games and.
I don't know about you, but Halo has taught me how to fly a Banshee.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. That's a real life skill that you can implement tomorrow if you really wanted
to.
And
fire a plasma pistol, and yeah, sure.
It's all good stuff. In terms of things that I've learned from video games, I don't know if there's any like real life skills I'd say I've learned from playing games, aside from like having good coordination with my hands and being able to like operate a mouse and keyboard really well, aside from that. But like video games have taught me a lot, at least through the eyes of different characters, about like having a broader sense of like morality.
Yeah.
And taking different perspectives on certain situations and learning new resolutions that I myself as a person would not have considered if not for me watching another character tackle that problem in a different way through a video game.
And there are video games, like we've covered popular video games and video games that we enjoy, but there's games like Farming Simulator.
Not really into it.
Not really into
European
it,
Train Simulator.
I'm sure you could take away a thing or two from farming. Yeah,
probably.
Exactly. And there are like simulation games like the Forza that you have with the whole wheel and clutch setup.
Yeah.
We talk about it all the time. It's not like driving a real car because there's literally physics.
Yeah, there's like G-forces and all that.
And there's other things affecting your body, but the technical aspect of it, like changing gears, braking properly, turning properly, things like that.
That is one thing. Like I'd say games like Forza like would actually like if you sat down and played it for long enough, like if you're not familiar with how to drive like a manual car, like you could actually probably learn how to do it just by playing the game.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
I
do you actually have like a wheel and stuff, like a full setup?
It's technically my brother's, but yeah.
That is some good stuff, man.
Yeah,
that's a level of dedication that I wouldn't be able to reach.
Generally speaking, any car is stick shift. I'm not like super great in Formula One, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's still impressive, though.
Yeah.
When you had the original,
Yeah, because we just have an up and down shifter, because the H shifter was broken by my brother's college roommates. RIP.
Unfortunate.
But, so it's like
things break in college,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But still, you have to know, like, clutch and shifting properly and all that stuff.
When to shift
down,
when to shift up.
Yeah.
Things like that. So, video games can be informative, not always. Moral principle is constantly present in video games for more or less.
Yeah.
And then profitable. And like obviously video games are profitable for developers and owners of video game production, but lately I'd say within the last like 4 years, probably even earlier, I say PewDiePie was kind of a pioneer when it came to profiting individually off of video game playing.
Yeah.
Doing Let's Plays.
I remember being really young and watching his Happy Wheels videos and Amnesia.
Happy Wheels, Amnesia. I bought Amnesia because of PewDiePie, and it's a good fucking game.
Dude, that game scared...
It's so scary.
My God.
Terrifying.
I remember
I love a good horror game.
yelling the loudest I've ever
Fear
yelled
2.
in my life because of Amnesia. It was so terrifying. But Autry, spit me some facts from your information sheets. I'm kind of interested in what you got written down there.
Wow, just throwing it at me now, huh?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of the stuff that I have here is. Are you guys familiar with the? You mentioned just a moment ago how video games can be profitable, but there are just as many instances even today where video games release and they wind up not yielding a profit at all for the people that make them. Do you guys know this past September, I have it somewhere in here, it's going to take me a minute to find it if I wanted to, but there was this game released called, no, I'm not even kidding, it's in here somewhere, I just don't know where.
I thought you were about to call out Cyberpunk, but you were being sarcastic.
I'll get to Cyberpunk in a minute, don't you worry. But are you guys familiar with the Marvel's Avengers game that released this past September?
Yeah.
That game did not recoup the cost of development. It did not even come close. Wow. It was such a train wreck on launch. Like it was buggy. There were so many things that just like so many little quality of life things that other games that had come previously like were able to handle no problem that Marvel's Avengers really just dropped the ball on. At launch, I don't even have to look, I know this from memory. At launch, on PC at least, through Steam, the numbers do not lie. On launch at PC, Marvel's Avengers peaked at 30,000 concurrent players. Today, in February of 2021, they have lost 98% of their player base.
I actually know
that game has been completely abandoned. There was like a roadmap that the developers put out of like all of the changes that they were looking to implement over the coming year from its release. It hasn't even been half a year. Complete radio silence. The roadmap has been tossed out the window. Nobody plays the game anymore. I'm pretty sure it's just completely abandoned. Yeah, and that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
And it's so weird. Like a big part of the way games are released today has changed so much from the way that games used to be released back in like the 2000s and even early 2010s.
Yeah.
Back then, you would go and you would buy a game for $60. You'd bring it home, and that's it. That's the game that you got, you know. But
maybe
today,
some DLC here and there.
yeah, exactly. But today, they don't. Video game developers and companies try and get away with not really selling you a finished product, but making you pay full price for it like it was a finished product. Derek, before we started this, you and I were discussing No Man's Sky, which I think is a brilliant example of it. No Man's Sky had all of this hype around it, and they were gloating about all of these amazing features that were going to be included of the game. Game comes out, full $60 release, people bought it, and it just straight up did not have a lot of the listed features and a lot of the quality of life aspects that people were anticipating to be there and included in the game.
For those who have never played before, what did they promise versus what did they get?
I think they promised multiplayer so you could play with people.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest attractions too. And it straight up was not there when the game released. Like it took years for them to add it.
Like tons of different life on the planets and procedurally generated planets, but apparently planets were very samey and so was life. Apparently now it's really good.
It is, and that's the thing too. And that goes back to the point I was trying to make is that nowadays a lot of developers try and get away with not selling you a game that is a finished product, but selling you a game that is like a promise of what they will do to it over the years and what it will become. They're not selling you, a completely finished deal. They're selling you on the idea of like, okay, like in a year or two, you give us some time post-launch and this will turn into a really good game. Which brings us to Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk, I think, has had one of the most egregious launches that I, as a video game fan, somebody who follows the industry, has ever seen in my entire life. And I feel like a lot of people would probably agree with that. I mean, it was so bad, it got yanked from the PlayStation Store.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it got completely... What happened was it launched and people realized, well, on top of all the problems that Cyberpunk has, it is completely, like, virtually unplayable.
Is it back?
No.
In the store?
No.
And this is like
You cannot buy it on the Sony store for PlayStation 4. On PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, Cyberpunk is literally just an unplayable, pixelated, blocky
it's
mess.
not meant for anything
So
less
it's like-
than
it's like
the
PS5,
newest generation
Series
of consoles
X,
or
PC.
PC.
It's a little better on Series X and PS5, albeit not much, but the best port of it was easily the PC version of the game. But even then, like... And,
I've seen gameplay. It's
really, really
the
rough.
writing was on the wall too, and you bring up a good point with Cyberpunk and No Man's Sky is, who's to blame for the change in the way video games are released now and how
Companies.
you get a product that isn't finished. I would partially say I think it's hand in hand. I think
Okay, I get what
it's
you're going.
partially consumers
Yep.
for demanding the game
Yep.
and always lamenting over pushbacks or
Mm-hmm.
suspended release dates, things like that. But then it's also developers for not standing their ground and saying we want to release this game finished and perfect so that off the bat you have a playable game, and then on top of it we have things that we're going to add that make the game even that much more playable and attractive to people who aren't playing it initially.
Halo Infinite would have been the same thing as Cyberpunk had they released this November.
Yes.
They were supposed to, and it would have been a shit show.
They should push it back as long as they need.
Well, they're pushing it back to
they
the
won't.
20th anniversary.
No, it's not that they won't. I believe that they can. To add a different element to it, to take a little bit of pressure off the people who are actually developing the game, I find, at least in the research that I've done in the games that I've viewed over the years that haven't come out in a great state, I find more often than not that it's not really the people developing the game that are to blame, but rather the publishing studio that they are associated with, who are giving them, yes, exactly, a lot of like really tight deadlines and putting a lot of pressure on them. For instance, like Cyberpunk got delayed, 3 or 4 times from its initial release date?
I think so. Yeah.
I wholeheartedly believe that if it was possible, that CD Projekt Red would have delayed Cyberpunk another full year, if they really could have, because they have such a grand ambition for the game and such a wide scope of all the things that they want to accomplish. But I believe at some point what happened is they delayed it for the 3rd time, they delayed it for the 4th time, and then the people who are in charge of the production company, all their investors and all of the higher ups and the executives, they get tired of waiting. They want to see a return on the money that they have put into the game. They want to see the product.
That's where mine was headed too. The amount of money that gets invested in producing a game, like you said, the Marvel game, just to have it turn out to be a complete flop. And if it flops, there's no recovering. I mean, maybe No Man's Sky recovered
What is that?
in a decent way, but I
from
can't
the-
imagine that they fully recovered their investment.
What's that quote from the Nintendo guy?
I could look it up.
Thinking of Reggie?
It's something like a game that comes out too early is forever bad, but a game that is delayed is what you could get me on this. What is this?
I don't remember the exact quote, but I know exactly what you're talking about to
Yeah.
the point where I'm going to look it up right now. Please
Yeah.
keep going.
Yeah, it was something like a game that's released. Yeah, I don't want to keep saying it if you're just gonna read it, but
we understand the premise of what you mean.
I think it was the guy from Nintendo.
A rushed game is forever bad.
A rushed game is forever bad. A delayed game
Has the potential to be good,
has
or
the
something
potential to be
along
good, or
those
something
lines.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that Marvel's Avengers game, that was Square Enix.
Okay.
A bunch of sad people. You may know them from they developed Mirror's Edge and the Final Fantasy remake.
Yeah.
What was that game that I don't even remember? Patrick P used to play that it was a DC game that was free to play on PC at least, and he got me into it. And that game was actually really fun, but it was free to play. I was expecting
the
Marvel
online
game.
the MOBA style game.
Yeah,
that
I was
got
expecting
released.
the new Avengers to be like that, but I guess it wasn't.
I enjoyed Injustice.
Is that what it is?
No, it's not
that's
Injustice.
That's
Oh,
like
that's
that's
not.
like
It's
Street
almost like-
Fighter
Injustice is a
style,
good
like
game.
DC.
Let's not get that
It's almost like
confused.
Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, but like DC.
Yeah.
Very fun,
Yeah.
by the way. Generated a lot of traction in the fighting game community, even to this day, which is something I personally am passionate about. I played a lot of like in college. I was a member of the Super Smash Brothers Club.
Yes.
And we would have tournaments every week.
Oh, 100%.
I had the opportunity to meet a couple of actual renowned players. There's this player who goes by the username Abate. and he is the best Luigi player in the world in Super Smash Bros. Melee. A Pittsburgh native, went to University of Pittsburgh, and like we actually had the opportunity to have him over at one of our tournaments one time. First of all, completely wiped the floor with everybody. Wasn't even close.
That's
like
insane.
the skill gap between all of like even our best player at our school and him just not even close. Not even close to being close. Not even far. Like, it was so crazy. But aside from that, by the way, Abate, if you happen to be listening to this, you're one cool guy, you know? I really, like, he even came to one of our get-togethers that happened after hours, after the tournament was done. An extremely cool and personable guy to talk to. He came to one of our parties where one of my friends had actually pissed his pants, and he actually took the time to help us clean him up and put him in bed.
Wow.
Which speaks to his character. A very
Yeah, that really
nice
does.
and quality person,
That really
does.
honestly.
Luigi.
A fan. He made me a fan for life, honestly.
We've schlepped each other across, off the floor a couple times.
You and your
in our
goddamn
days.
Yoshi. I don't even want to talk
Hey,
about
listen,
it.
I'm a one-trick Yoshi, man, and I'm proud of it because I
I'm-
win.
I'm hardcore Link.
That's
Really?
fair.
That's
I'm
your
so
direction, huh?
bad at the game. I will get trashed every time. I'm not.
There are people who actually I know someone who's pretty decent at Valhalla, or no, what's it called? Not Valhalla. God,
Brawlhalla?
Brawlhalla.
That's the one.
Yeah.
James.
Yeah.
Yeah.
James.
James
Yes.
is really good at Brawlhalla.
Yes, we miss
Yeah.
James. Out indefinitely.
No,
Sound
he's
like
not.
a-
No, he's not.
Sound
You heard
like
it here first, folks. Wow.
He's returning.
No, he's returning.
He's returning.
He's just quarantining. We're trying to be safe here. We're being smart with the podcast, and there's
Yeah.
been some delays.
Yeah, no
regarding
one
that,
will
but
even
overall, it's good to be back.
notice. Like, releases have been consistent because of backlog, and by the time you hear this, it'll probably be a month until this even releases anyway. But yeah, we haven't recorded anything for a month. It's been like a long time since we've
It has
been
been
in
a
the
long
studio.
time.
Wow.
It's good to be back, and this is a great.
I'm honored to be here
Autry.
for the return.
Hey,
I
you
told you
are.
on the drive here. This is a great moment in time.
Yeah.
Hey, I got half of my vaccines done. I'm 50% clean, so,
My mom's nervous about the second one.
Really?
Yeah.
My mom actually got the second version of the second dose of the vaccine. And a lot of people had always been like talking about like all these crazy side effects that would happen, but she seemed like relatively okay with it. I mean, she ran a light fever the day after she got it, but she was perfectly fine after a good day of bed rest and all that.
Yeah,
That's
I was
probably
thinking,
the same
just
as-
take it easy, quarantine. the
Yeah,
minute
like
you get
the
it.
virus. Like, some people just get it really bad, and then some people are just fine. Like, I
Yeah,
got
some
it.
people get it and kick it like it's nothing.
Dude, I was fine. I mean, I had maybe like a headache and like a slight cough, but other than that, I was fine.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think our conversation about releasing and developing these video games kind of brings us to a point where something changed within the video game industry, the gaming industry. I don't exactly know when. I would like to say it was when Xbox
Battlefront
360.
2015. Loot box.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was.
man.
People
The
were really upset
introduction
about that.
Halo
of
5.
microtransactions really took a heavy toll on the game industry,
Yeah,
honestly.
they did. I don't understand it, man. Like, I don't know. For some reason, I was saying this to James and my friends Court and Emma the other day. For some reason, if I buy a game for $60, okay, that's fine with me. But if I play a game that's free, I will never invest money in it. I do not know why. I cannot give you an explanation. I do not understand. It's just something in my brain that goes, this game is free. I will not spend any money on it. I don't understand
It
my
depends
mindset.
on the amount of time I invest in the game.
Yeah, but like if I spend $60 on a game, stop trying to charge me for all this little bullshit.
Yeah, you should have a completed game in your hands at that point. And
Now, sorry. However, I don't mean to cut anyone off, but I will bring this up. Based on inflation, okay, games have been $60 for so long that games should now be around $80 to $85 base. So
that is a very big argument from game developers because they
Yes.
feel like they are not fairly compensated for the amount
Yes.
of money they make from the amount of time that they put into their game.
correct. So I understand maybe spending like $15 on extra stuff after you pay the $60 for the game.
But that doesn't guarantee that money's going into the pocket of game developers
Yeah.
necessarily. Like
Right.
you said, I mean, you have
A
a
lot of time
publishing company
Yeah.
that
publishing
probably
company
just
usually
takes
takes a
that and
cut.
says thank you
Yeah,
and
exactly.
moves on with their lives.
Thank you for my
A
multi-million
lot
dollar investment.
EA, which oh my God.
Yeah, you hear horror stories about game developers.
EA is easily the
getting
worst offender when it comes
abused.
to microtransactions and
Yeah.
the amount of money that they take out of people's pockets after that. It's so funny, by the way, that you mentioned that you wouldn't ever spend money on a free-to-play game because, oh God, League of Legends is a free-to-play game. I've been
Yeah.
playing it since 2012. Do you
Yeah.
want to even take a guess as to how much money I've spent on that game? Oh God.
Yeah, see, I want to say like 350, but I also want to say like $1,000.
I want to say 1,200.
Wow, I don't know where you think I'm getting that kind of money at my wee age back then. But I've probably spent. There's a website where you can actually go and look it up. The last time I checked was in 2019, and I was sitting somewhere around $550. And I think today it's probably maybe no higher than 600 for sure. But still, and albeit,
rough.
it's over the course of 9 years, $600 over 9 years. It's not terrible.
That's not terrible.
Right?
I think I know a kid that probably spent that much in FIFA of all
Yeah.
games.
FIFA is
Yeah.
rough because
FIFA-
at some point all you have left to do is buy packs and try and get really good players for your
Ultimate Team.
teams.
I spent $10 on packs I don't even really play.
Wait, is FIFA an EA game?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, there it is.
Sports games alone are a whole different type of problem. Sports games have been getting more cookie cutter, literally copy and paste a game into the next year.
Dude, like
disgusting.
Madden?
every single year.
Oh, here's Madden 2012, Madden 2013, Madden 2014, Madden
It's
2015.
They're the
all
same game,
engines,
just new
same
players,
mechanics, just
you know?
new players.
Dude, that's why I don't play Call of
Update
Duty.
stats.
Okay, I will say I am impressed with the newer Call of Duties compared to the older ones. Like for maybe 6 years straight, it was practically just
bad.
the same exact game engine, pretty much. Like you run the same way, everything looks the same way. It's just a new game. I remember them even saying that I don't remember where I read this, but they would essentially just copy textures from the previous couple of games and then
100%.
just use them.
MW3 and MW2 are mostly the same.
Mostly
game.
the same. Yeah. Yeah.
I'd agree with that. And again, it's even worse with sports games. Like the newest edition of FIFA that came out is literally like a line for line coding, frame for frame rip of the version of it that came the year before. It's so sad. Sports games are so in a terrible, terrible space right now. There's no variety in who makes them. You're playing a basketball game, you got 2K, because nobody's playing the other one, who I can't even name at the moment because it's so utterly forgettable.
Oh,
I don't even
You're
know.
playing a baseball game, you have the show, and that's about it. Personally, I would really be in favor of seeing sports video games move from yearly releases to bi-yearly releases.
Or even longer, man.
Yeah, even that.
I don't know. For me is I think 5 years is a perfect time frame, and I know a lot of people will disagree, but and I think it's a little different, especially when you're in high school. Because I remember Skyrim came out, and I remember being at the store. I think with you. No, I don't remember. But I was at the store. I don't even know. Anyway, I remember saying to you or something, Derek. I was like, man, I can't believe that the next time we'll play another Elder Scrolls game, I'll be in college. And guess what? I'm out of college, and the next game isn't here yet. Now,
we're old as
Not
dirt.
even
Now,
close to
I'll
being
just
Not
here.
say-
even close.
that's-
We got a
yeah,
10-second, 15-second
we
trailer
probably
of
have another 2 or 3
some
years until it
landscape.
drops. I don't know.
That's fine.
What I'll say
but
though,
I hope
is-
it's a good game.
I hope it's a good game. I'm perfectly fine with games taking a while to come out, but I feel like 5 years is a really good time frame. And again, I know people think that's ridiculous, but especially now that a lot of people who play video games are quote unquote older.
Mm-hmm.
You have people in their mid-20s, late 20s, early 30s, probably 40s, whatever that even, I don't even know. But if a game comes out every 2 years for me, I don't have enough, 2 years is not enough time for me to delve into that game and understand it.
Depends on the game.
For me personally,
I'd say so.
because XCOM 2, it will be 5 years now since that game has come out. And I'll say it probably took me 3 or 4 years to finally be at the point where I was like, all right, I'm ready for the next game.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know.
You put some hours in that game.
Oh, yeah, probably 2,000 hours into that game. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's pretty rough.
yeah. We actually we
Okay,
checked.
I'll be
We checked that
frank,
one day. It was 1,400 hours. I was like,
like,
oh god.
Because of how many mods I have, the load screens
Oh,
take
here we go.
forever, and also there was a lot of AFK time. But I'll just say, like, I don't know. I feel like 5 years is a good time frame to just, like, flesh out the game, figure it out. I don't know.
Well, I think, okay, so I've been saying Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Yeah.
Pretty good game. Like, it really revitalized my interest in Call of Duty in general. I fell off after MW3.
Yeah.
Black Ops 2 was alright. It wasn't anything to write home about.
The first Black Ops
Very good.
was really good.
Yeah, that was good.
Same with Call of Duty World War and Modern Warfare 2.
I would like to see
love
that
World War.
remastered.
Also, Call of Duty 2 was really good.
But yeah, the new Modern Warfare, especially with the addition to Warzone, their like battle royale, really gave it time to like actually play the game and like develop. And there's seasons and there's like stuff that you can unlock, and it just became a lot more enjoyable to play in the long run. Like, you weren't waiting the next year. And I know traditionally there was an agreement between Treyarch and Activision where like each year they would trade off.
Yeah, it was like an alternating
Yeah.
deal.
I think 2 years would be a lot more preferable for the Call of Duty series at this point because of the things that they have. But that's
why
just
they
not
don't
what they'll do.
That's why they don't really do. Wait, do they still do map pack DLCs?
The way they have it now is like Call of Duty Cold War and Call of Duty Modern Warfare like link in a lot of ways. Like, you can play multiplayer in Modern Warfare but use guns from Cold War. You can play Cold War Warzone.
Yeah, but you don't like buy a map pack for $20 anymore,
No,
right?
no, I don't think you buy DLCs anymore.
Because they realized it was just stupid for them to come out with like 3 different DLCs that are $20 each, and then they're putting out the game every year. So you might as well just do a bunch of microtransactions where people will spend more because people aren't buying the map packs because they know the next game will come out.
Yeah.
But now they know people will buy weapon skins and weapon charms and all that bullshit.
Another reason I dislike Microsoft, by the way, is because they are the ones who popularized having people pay for DLC like that. I'm sure you guys are probably familiar with the game Left 4 Dead 2.
Yes.
On PC, even for Left 4 Dead 1 and Left 4 Dead 2, the PC versions of the game were very good. All of the DLC that was ever added to Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 came for free to PC players.
Wait,
and
really?
initially, yeah,
I have it. I didn't even know that.
the plan was that they also wanted to have that DLC be free on Xbox, which at the time was the only console that Left 4 Dead was on. Microsoft saw this and said, wait, you want us to give this stuff to the players for free? I'm like, no, we're not going to do that. And so they started charging you $15 for those
Yeah.
DLC expansions,
Yeah, they did.
which was against the wish of the company that developed the game.
It was, yeah.
Like, that's so, it's so scummy to me, man. I can't take it. I
is
dislike
scummy.
it so much.
I mean, PlayStation follows right behind them. I mean, they do.
I firmly believe that they wouldn't if Microsoft hadn't set the precedent. Even for
you can't
stuff
guarantee
like
that. That's an assumption.
But even stuff like online play, like
That's an assumption.
Microsoft were the first people to charge their customers to have Xbox Live Gold,
I
to
don't believe
have the
I'm
ability.
kidding. I'm joking.
Well, hey, the numbers don't lie. They charge people the ability to play games online, which is something that neither Sony nor Nintendo did before that.
Or PC.
And we know today, yeah, exactly. And we know today that it doesn't really cost them anything to maintain online servers and to keep that service up and running at a healthy rate.
Yeah.
But Microsoft saw that they were able to, there's some disputability to that.
Well, because obviously there's an upkeep cost. However, they make that money back through
Way
everything
more
else.
than
Like,
what they
why
need.
are they even charging 60
Yeah.
for?
The only gripe I have with PC, and you probably know my gripe, is that split screen multiplayer is almost universally unavailable on PC.
Which is really dumb to me because, like, if you have a PC, generally speaking, your PC is more powerful than a console.
Mm-hmm.
So why would you not support split screen?
So Phil and I play this game called Earth Defense Force.
I'm familiar.
Oh yeah.
Thank God. because
Scary game, by the way.
It
When I
is-
used to play it as a kid, it terrified me.
One of
Bugs
the-
are big. I don't like them, you
one
know?
of the greatest games
like
of all time.
hardcore. Like we've gone through the entire campaign in hard, and then we're crunching hardest, and then we're also doing Inferno on top of it. And like pretty much anytime we have free time, like we'll play it. That's the only game that we can play split screen local, and
Well,
which is fine because
Actually,
we love it.
Castle Crashers and Dungeon Defenders are the
Okay,
only two games I have besides EDF. But, like, why isn't Halo
boring.
MCC split screen?
Well, it gets repetitive.
Why is
Castle Crashers was great.
Yeah, but, like, they haven't come out with the second one. So, like, I've beaten the first one, like, how many times?
I know,
just can't do it
it's
anymore.
not. You can't replay.
There
it.
never
No.
will be a second one.
There
Sounds
probably won't.
Oh my god, the ending.
The ending with the spoiler
All that
alert.
grind. Yeah, no, I'm not even gonna spoil it. Go play Castle Crashers.
Fair
If you've
enough.
never played, if you're not into video games, that's a good one to just start out.
Subpoint
Yeah,
I kind of
actually.
wanted to delve into is like we kind of glossed over it earlier, but like what are some of your guys' like favorite video games? Like if someone like isn't traditionally a gamer and you were looking to like get them in, like what would be the top of your list? Like what would be your recommendation to those
Get them
people?
into video games. That's a tough one. Because games I like, you'd have to almost have a predisposition to liking video games.
That's the thing is, like, I've tried to get James into Halo, and he likes select Halos. Like, he likes, I think he likes Halo Reach the most, just because it has the most amount of scoped weapons. The thing he really hated about Combat Evolved was that very few of the guns you could aim down sights. Because, like, there wasn't a battle rifle.
Yeah.
There, like, you could, I mean, there was, like, the scoped weapons were essentially the pistol, the sniper, and, like, the rocket launcher.
Of all
But
things.
yeah, but like then they added the battle rifle in and the DMR and all that other stuff. So like he likes Reach, but I don't even know what I would get. I don't know. I don't even know. Honestly, as much as I hate to say it, Call of Duty.
It depends on what kind of person you are, really.
Yeah.
Almost. Because, like, in my head, pretty much, so I started off on the GameCube. That, like, opened the door for me to, like, game in general, then also, like, console gaming.
I remember when you got an Xbox. And I
Yeah.
was like, holy crap,
The
Derek
Xbox
got an
Arcade
Xbox.
that I still have.
Yeah, it used to be a big deal back in the day.
Yeah, and then you got Halo
Yeah.
3, and I was like, oh my god, we can play Halo 3
That came
together.
with a 30 megabyte, like, memory
like-
card.
like
Not even a
memory
Tiny
hard
hard
drive.
drive. Yeah.
Memory card.
Yeah.
I upgraded to the 160 gigabyte, and the dude,
I was so jealous.
I'll never forget it. He told me, he was like, "You'll never run out of space." And look where we're at now. He's like, I can guarantee you will never run out of space with this.
But did you
And, like,
ever?
I
did
did
you
not.
ever run out of space?
Not on
the
Xbox
360?
360. If
Not at the time you didn't.
He got you there.
If that same hard drive were in my Xbox One, I'd have 2 games.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Depending on the games.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
that's the thing with Halo. So I've been trying to, like, my Halo file is corrupted. Something's wrong. I have all the DLCs, and I've been trying to play with Phil.
Because you've got
and
MCC, yeah.
For some reason, it just doesn't load when I'm actually in the game. So I reinstall it all the time. The problem with that is it's like a 200 gigabyte install.
And that's a big issue with the way that games are compressed, especially by North American development companies, is they do a pretty across the board like terrible job of compressing their games down to like manageable sizes considering what types of hard drives are being put into consoles people are buying.
Right.
The only company that I'd say really gets it right is, surprisingly enough, Nintendo. Like Smash
Because
Ultimate,
it's Japanese and they're freaking geniuses.
they do a super good job with it. Like most games, like did you either of you play Red Dead Redemption 2?
Yes.
When you put that, did you get a disc? Did you download it digitally?
Digital.
Even so, the day one patch that you need just in order to play the game is like 200 gigabytes.
Yeah.
It's like bigger than a normal game. Like, and to put it in comparison, a game like Smash Ultimate, I think sits, numbers don't lie, I'm about to lie though. It's like somewhere around, I want to say it's like anywhere between like 30 to 60 gigabytes
That's
for the
fair.
entirety of Smash Ultimate, just to download it right onto a Switch.
That's not
Yeah, exactly. Compared to every other game that is at least like a 100 gigabyte like download on day one, even if you have a disc, like they do a super good job with it. And it's something that Western developers just haven't been able to emulate or just don't care enough to put the time into.
My
to
only
emulate.
question would be, okay, so like Super Smash is like a very like specific kind of game.
Mhm.
And maybe that doesn't require as much storage as like a game that's like an open world RPG like
Yeah.
Red Dead Redemption 2,
Mhm.
which makes sense just logically speaking.
Yeah.
But I wonder if they could crunch that down to like a smaller.
Just to bring it back to the point that you just made, it is fair to say that a game like Super Smash Brothers maybe isn't the most graphically intensive. It's not a very big game. You know, there's just like a lot of little collectibles spread across a lot of maps. Breath of the Wild
Yeah.
is only a 13.4 gigabyte game.
Okay, see that just...
So throw that shit right out
Well,
the
you know-
window.
No,
Yeah,
so you know
because
why
that-
though? Is because it's a very minimalist looking game. If you played Risk of Rain 2,
I fucking love that game.
dude,
Are you
yes,
kidding me?
it's so good. It has that art style that is supposed to look cartoony and low poly. And for those who don't know what polygams?
You got it.
Polygams are?
Polygons.
Polygons. Thank you. See? Polygons.
Shapes.
It was this thing where like, okay, so in Halo 3, a Marine, like a soldier in Halo 3, the physical, everything's made of lines in a video game, right? We all know this,
Yeah.
but for those that don't, everything's made of lines. The assault rifle in Halo Reach had more polygons than a Marine in Halo 3, which is insane, okay? Now, so I think the thing is, the reason Breath of the Wild is such a small download is that it has less polygons and less intense textures and lighting. That's got to
But
be why it's small.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's huge.
like the numbers are speaking to me. They're not
Right.
lying.
They do not lie.
But you look at the
And
graphics of Red Dead
13
Redemption 2.
compared to 200 though.
Right, but the graphics of Red Dead
Yes.
Redemption 2 are
That's fair.
insane compared to
That's fair.
Breath of the Wild. That's why.
You're right.
And to be fair,
And-
like they do have very comparable like map sizes. Like Red Dead Redemption 2
Yeah.
is like a very, very big game.
Yeah.
But even so, Breath of the Wild, for as less graphically intensive as it is still a massive game, like a very huge open world, and there
think
is
it really
a
just
ton
comes
of
down
stuff
to
sprawled across it.
Polygons and texture quality. That's got to be what it is.
It is usually what makes up the most of it.
Yeah.
But it's not always super indicative of how big it's going to.
Fair.
The
I
final
think it's
product
obvious
is
that
going
there's
to be.
some tail end things that Western developers cannot do as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why I even have Siege installed still. Like, I'll get like a 1.5 gigabyte update, and I'm like, I guess I'll update.
Yeah, that's
And I'm
just
thinking,
taking
like,
up about 150 gigs on your computer right
dude,
now.
probably like 200 to 300. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't even know when the last time I even played Siege was, because I used to be really into it, and then it turned into, let me dress like a clown and have a rainbow skin. And I was like, wait a second, this game is supposed to be quote unquote realistic. What's happening? So anyway, I just, it's
You didn't like the bacon camouflage
No.
in Black Ops 2?
dude, I get so annoyed. All right, let me go off on a thing for a second. All right,
Please.
I want to smash my face in with a hammer when video and just splatter blood all over
Lay
my
a towel
office.
down. Yeah, I was
You've been
just
playing
gonna
too
say.
much Grand Theft Auto, man.
Yeah.
Making you violent.
I just get really frustrated when games have lore-breaking content because he's never going to listen to this, but shout out to Late Night Gaming. He's a guy on YouTube. I love his content. He's great. He put out a video recently on how game developers are adding in content, like cosmetic stuff, to the game that breaks the aesthetic of the game is the best way I can phrase that. And then his argument is, well, a lot of people say it's cosmetic, so who cares? You know, if you want a pizza skin on your gun, that's fine. And I'm thinking, no, because if I'm playing, let's just say for sake of conversation, I'm playing a Battlefield game, right? Does Battlefield have skins? I don't know. I don't
The
know.
newest
Yes.
ones might. I'm honestly
I
not
don't know.
familiar.
Okay, let's just say Call of Duty.
think so.
Okay, let's just say I'm playing Call of Duty and I'm like someone who's really into it, and I want to like feel like I'm playing in the Cold War and I'm fighting bad guys and I'm playing online, right? Well, then I turn around and some dude's got like a clown mask on their face with a pizza skin on their gun, and they're wearing some dumbass rainbow clothing, and their gun shoots like flowers or some shit. I'm thinking like, I don't feel like I'm in a Cold War setting anymore because some idiot next to me is using cosmetics that are lore breaking.
You've never liked that.
Lore breaking
Yeah.
cosmetics make me want to die. I cannot handle it. If you're going to put weapon skins in the game, fit it with the atmosphere, the aesthetic, and the lore. That is my personal opinion.
Yeah.
But that's just how I feel.
I think you have a point. I think it is a personal opinion
Yes.
because
Not everyone's the same as me. Why
Yeah,
would they
that's
be
fair.
a
I feel
different
like
person?
the addition of cosmetic items that do sort of go outside the normal mold of the game also serve to attract different types of players who might not have been interested in the game itself in the first place. Like you talked about Rainbow Six Siege for a bit. Like there's a straight up a skin that they added not too long ago for one of the operators that is literally like a full like pizza suit. And like the helmet is like a big slice of pizza, and
Dude,
it's got like big googly
why?
eyes on it, and like
Why?
it looks so ridiculous. And like on one hand, yeah, it does sort of break my immersion when I'm playing the game, but on the other hand, it's fucking hilarious,
It's
and I don't really
hilarious,
mind
right?
it so much, you know, because like at the end of the day, the core mechanics of the game haven't changed at all. It still is just a cosmetic thing.
All right, here's my alternative. Okay, this is almost ridiculous because I don't know how you would
I'm
do.
glad that you're self-aware.
I don't know how you would do this as a developer. Okay,
okay.
I don't know how you do it as a developer.
Yeah.
But the alternative I'm proposing is create a menu in the game for any game that does this, in which I can hand select which cosmetics do and do not appear. Now, you say, well, Phil, I'm wearing the pizza outfit. What happens if you turn off the pizza outfit in your menu and now someone's wearing the pizza outfit? It just defaults to them wearing the default skin.
Like a base character model.
So, shout out to 343 with their MCC update. They added some new stuff to Halo 3, which was armor and like weapon skins and all this other stuff from Halo Online, which was a free-to-play game that came out by other developers, yada yada. Anyway, they've created an option in the menu in which you can turn off the added armor. Because let's say you're some gung-ho Halo 3 fan, and you go, I don't want this art style of armor is clashing with my game. I want to see classic Halo 3 stuff. Well, you click this option, and then if anyone is wearing those armor pieces, it defaults to the basic Mark 6 armor that you would wear in the game.
Yeah.
So my proposition is, if you're going to have a game that has rainbow weapon skins and all this other BS...
So everyone has fun. Everyone gets what they...
Yes, like if you want everything to show up, let it show up. But if you want to go into a menu and say, I don't want that specific weapon skin to show up, well then if someone has that weapon skin, it just shows it as the basic weapon model. That's my proposition.
I think it's gotten kind of out of control with the... It's not so much the goofiness of skins that have come out. It's more the price point for me that seems kind of ridiculous. It's like,
Pay $3 for this skin.
Modern Warfare, going back to it. Not even $3. You could pay $10 for a skin, 2 gun skins, and like some emblems and a calling card.
No thanks.
Right. It's like $10, okay. Like, maybe one time if you really, really, really hit the nail on the head and I want this. But, like, a lot of times I look at them and I'm like $20. Like, you can get up to $20 for some, like, rare stuff. And, like, I know this is going way back. I think this was on the drive to Philly that day that we were just talking about in the car. We were talking about the black market on CSGO.
Yes.
And how outrageous that got.
Crazy, absolutely insane.
I'm sorry, my friend Cortland, he paid for half of his car that he bought by selling things
Using a CSGO
for
skins.
CSGO. Yeah.
The way that there is like an actual like peer-to-peer market and like an actual full virtual economy generated around cosmetic items like that is crazy. Like it's the equivalent of like stocks almost. Like skins rise and fall in value every single day.
Yeah.
And like you can cash that out for real fucking money.
Yeah, real
man.
money.
Like
It's insane.
I've bought tons of games on Steam because I used to play CS:GO. Not so much anymore, but I used to have a couple of skins that I acquired through various means, and I actually sold them in order to get money in my Steam wallet so that I could buy other games that I was looking forward to. Like it is so crazy. There's legitimately like money to be made, but at the same time, it also saw a massive increase in like ungoverned like gambling sites and like a bunch of like unsolicited stuff. Like there are a ton of stories of people who have made lots of money like trading CSGO skins, and at the same time there are just as many if not more stories of people who have lost a ton of money trying to like fish through loot boxes and find the next skin that's going to give them enough money to like keep fueling their ambition, you know? Like it is so
Loot boxes
crazy.
piss me off.
I think if you, and we can get into that. I think if you follow the money when it comes to the gaming industry, there's a large disparity of wealth. Like you have, Twitch streamers and, like PewDiePie type people making content, and they make pretty good amount of money for playing a video game.
Yeah.
Versus like your friend that you know that has a Twitch stream and maybe gets like 10 to 12, you know, views like in their entire stream. And like even just in our podcast, like starting out, you know, we don't have a large fan base, but the content is pure, I'd like to think. So, you know, that's kind of the promise, is that like we're putting good forth, so hopefully we get it back.
Shout out to our friend Gabe, who is on timeforanything.com on our other projects tab. You can find his Twitch stream on there if you're interested in watching.
Shout out to your newly released ambient gameplay YouTube channel.
It is also on the other projects tab of timeforanything.com. Anyway.
Good stuff. Very calming.
I like what you did with that, because you've always been interested in what I call soundscapes.
Yes, soundscapes. Thank you. That's the exact word I wanted you to use. I'm so happy. Yes, soundscapes.
Yeah. Because you're literally kind of immersing you. I've said immersing way too much.
Dude, I literally have over 100 playlists on Spotify. Like, I curate music.
Yeah.
That's cool, my thing.
Yeah. He gets deep.
Yeah.
I believe it. You mentioned YouTubers a bit ago. I want to raise a different point about YouTubers and the game industry. Okay. I think that it's fair to say that over the last maybe like decade or so, that the games market has shifted a lot more from single player based games to games that have a multiplayer element or an online element, some sort of cooperative thing going on for them. This is something that's been sort of a hot topic in the gaming community for a while now, but some people sort of have the belief that watching a Let's Player on YouTube or somebody play through a game on YouTube that is a single player game can be very detrimental to the sales of that game. Because let's say you have a YouTuber or a Twitch streamer who's very popular, has like 50,000 views, and he's got 50,000 people watching him play through a single player, scripted railway game. And at the end of the game, you now have 50,000 people who already know exactly what is going to happen at every point in the game, and it desensitizes them from wanting to buy it themselves. And a lot of people argue that Let's Players are actively damaging the sales numbers and the profitability of those single player games, because people are playing through them, they know exactly what's going to happen, and then it's over and they don't want to buy it anymore. They've already watched somebody play through the whole thing. Why would they want to buy it and play through it themselves?
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that's
I never
exactly
really thought about that. That makes a lot of sense.
It's really tough, honestly, and there's no sort of like governance around it or anything. A lot of I don't want to say like the smarter Let's Players, but the ones who are more conscious of this happening have, at least the ones that I still watch, will go through a Let's Play and they'll purposely like stay on like the main track of the game and like not do as many side quests or something to give people the incentive to be like, you want to see what happens if you go over into this area? I guess you're going to have to buy the game and find out yourself, you know?
Yeah.
But it's something that can be very damaging. And I don't think there's any like hard numbers that have distinctly like hard confirmed that it is like legitimately like harming the sales numbers of a single player game. But honestly, I would be hard pressed to believe that it doesn't have any effect on it at all. From a logical perspective,
it makes sense to me that would definitely in some way affect the overall sales of the game. I think the concept of it started out innocent. I keep referencing PewDiePie because he really popularized like the Let's Play sort of YouTube channels and like
I'd like to think,
yeah, and it started off innocent. Like you'd see clips of like Amnesia and Happy Wheels and
Happy Trails,
Happy Trails,
Happy Wheels,
Happy Highway.
Wait, what was that? What was that guy's name from? Oh, geez, I'm so sorry if you're listening. That guy's name from. Sorry, this is just hitting me. That guy's name from high school. Was it Gabe? No, I can't remember his name. He used to call his happy trail, like, the hair below your belly button.
Yeah.
He used to call it a trail of tears.
That's pretty messed up.
I don't know.
God, I don't like that at all.
I'm sorry. Anyway.
Not at all.
I'm not buying that game.
Anyway, continue.
Yeah, you make mistakes in high school. Hopefully they understand.
We grow, we live, we learn.
That's what they said.
Works.
Yeah. I'm not gonna. Yeah. Oh, you said something on Twitter in 2013. Now you must die. Cancel. Give me a break.
God, give me a break with cancel.
Shout out to episode 8 with Rohan on. There was a little bit of cancel culture in there.
The time for anything discussion.
It was an anything goes discussion.
Oh, of course. I'm sorry. Of course, that was.
How dare you?
Gosh, and I came into this as such a big fan of the show, and now I'm just betraying myself live on the air. It's so disappointing. Please.
It's okay.
Oh, God.
It's all right. Yeah. Sometimes we do a little more like casual, non-topical sort of discussion where we just pretty much shoot the shit. And
listen, I'm aware.
We could talk about it for a hot second. Cancel culture is shaky. In some cases, it's like pretty warranted. Like if you do something like awful and
we just found out you killed a baby in 2002. Cancel culture.
Morally disgusting. Yeah, you should be canceled for killing a baby in 2002, but you tweeting something ignorant in 2014 when you're like 16 years old, you shouldn't be canceled for that. Right. Are people getting canceled en masse like that? No.
Yeah, I find more often than not that cancel culture winds up being more of a harmful thing than anything else. Like it doesn't wind up really being productive in any way.
Yeah.
But let me kind of shift it a second here. I want to talk about pre-orders for a second. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I don't remember if there was a pre-order bonus for Skyrim, but I remember there was a pre-order bonus for Halo Reach. And it was, get the Recon helmet. And that was huge, right?
The GameStop days where like you'd go in, they'd be like, "Oh, you want to pre-order the game for $60? Well, how about $120 and you get all this stuff?"
You get like the special edition, the collector's edition,
like a action figure.
Yeah. Because if you got the Recon helmet in Halo Reach, it was that's what everyone strived for. In Halo 3, it was like, well, you just get that up front, like just pay a little extra. Like, okay, all right, I'll buy that. I did too.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. And then Halo Reach on MCC came out and it was free. It's just funny to me how pre-order has essentially become, give us your money so that we know we have money to make the game, and we'll give you some extra shit that you're not even gonna use. Because the thing is,
no promises on the game actually being good.
Right, because you pre-order the game and you get some extra stuff, but the problem becomes, and it seems that people, at least in my perspective, people just somehow still don't catch on. Like, pre-order the game and you get gold skins. Okay? Well, you pre-order the game and you get the gold skins. Well, chances are you're not going to use them because you realize that everyone has them. Mm-hmm. And then also, it's essentially the same as starting out with no skin, right? Because you get bored of it quickly. Right? It's like, well, this is just my skin. I put on gold from day one because I pre-ordered the game and now my gun's gold. Well, now I got a graffiti skin or a gun with a skull on it, so I'd rather just use that because it's something different. Yeah. It's almost like, what's the incentive for me to even pre-order a game anymore? Because with games coming out that end up just being poop, like No Man's Sky and Cyberpunk, again...
I can tell you the last game I pre-ordered.
I'd like to think No Man's Sky is good now, and I'd like to think Cyberpunk will be good eventually, but I'm afraid to pre-order games. But what's the last game you pre-ordered?
Elder Scrolls Online, and it's a decent game now.
It's a decent game now, right? And it wasn't.
But oh my god, when it first came out, especially going into it, playing Oblivion, to a lesser extent Skyrim, a lot, I had an expectation that it would not be a Skyrim or Oblivion, but resemble it in some way. And what I got was like a cartoon version of a watered down version of all those games.
I'll tell you what, I would have kept playing it except for one factor, all right? This is dumb because people are like, well, no shit, Phil, you're playing an MMO. This is how it works. Okay, I worked my way down a beach. I'm killing things. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm killing things on this beach. I'm killing crabs and goblins and monsters. And then I turn my way around to go back up the beach, and everything has just respawned in their spawn points. I'm like, I don't want to play this game. Like, I don't know why. It just really, really bothered me.
Man, you probably don't like Souls-like games then, huh?
What, like Dark Souls or whatever?
Yeah.
I think they're really cool. I have a lot of respect for them, but I haven't really played them. I've played Dark Souls 2 a very small amount, but...
I remember when you were like, here, play Dark Souls Remastered. And I played
I made you play it on Xbox.
Yeah, I played it for like probably 45 minutes, and I was like, "This is really hard."
I think James and I were just watching you get wrecked.
That's usually how it goes, man.
Yeah.
That first monster where you're just like, you're supposed to run through the door to your left. You're not even supposed to fight it.
Was that Hume and James? I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had no clue. How am I supposed to know? And like, that's kind of the thing is like, you die a million times
and you
over.
learn, and then eventually you make progress.
Oh, door.
But it doesn't hold your hand, and that's what's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
honestly, I've never been a big fan of Souls-like games, but one that I really do like is 2019's Jedi Fallen Order.
I've heard it's good.
Astounding game. I just played it for the first time. Actually, it was the first game that I played in 2021. Across all the Star Wars games I've ever played, which is almost all of them, it's got to be like probably number 3
Yeah.
on my all-time
Lego
favorite
Star
Star Wars
Wars
games. No. I mean that's got its own place on the list, but like me personally, like I grew up playing Knights of the Old Republic on the original Xbox, and those games are the epitome of what a good role-playing game should be, in my opinion.
I played Fallen Order for a little bit at my brother's house, and I thought it was really fun. There were definitely some moments that I was playing, and I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do right now.
Yeah.
Which was really cool. Like, I like when that happens in a game.
It gives you just enough guidance in order to continue moving in a
That's
positive
how I felt
direction.
about Resident Evil
Yes,
as a series.
dude,
I was just
Resident
like, okay,
Evil...
you have puzzles, but like, I'm not like here, like beating myself up over solving this one little puzzle. Like you just spend
And it was
a little time
much
on it.
tougher with the
Resident
older
Evil 4
Resident
and
Evils
5.
too.
4 and 5.
4 and 5.
Resident Evil 4 is one of my favorite games of all time.
It's so good.
I've bought it I've probably bought Resident Evil 4 like 5 different times. I'm willing to pay that price for perfection any day. Like it is the epitome of what a good survival horror game should be. It mixes in a lot of good action elements, but it doesn't become overbearing to the point that 5 did, where it's like more of an action game than a survival horror game.
Okay.
Like
Okay,
it
okay, I
retains
definitely
just
agree
enough
with
of
that.
that tension in the atmosphere to make you like to
Well,
raise the
scared.
nerves in your
Yeah,
body,
well, scared,
to
yeah.
give you
Yeah,
that sense of
anxious.
tension. Exactly.
The first time I watched Get Out, like the entire movie, I'm just like
Wait, time
on the
out.
edge of my seat.
Have you seen His House?
No.
It's essentially like Get Out, but not. It's really good. It follows in like an African American couple that are trying to like settle down in, I believe it's the UK. Don't quote me on that because I'm an ignorant American and I just know what I've seen.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's called His House, I think, and it's on Netflix, I believe. If not, I'm sure you could find it on like Prime or
Us
some
was
other
okay.
services.
There was some continuity issues.
Yeah,
That
I didn't watch it.
I didn't see Us actually.
It was pretty good. It didn't have that same like just like on the edge of your seat feeling that Get Out had, but it was more like twisty and kind of had some like cool concepts in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were some certain things where you got to watch the movie. It's pretty good. Jordan Peele is an actor. I mean, not as an actor, as a director.
Good job.
Amazing.
Yeah, really good.
Absolutely.
I
He's
love
got
to
the vision
see-
for it.
Yeah, I love to see when like, not just celebrities, but just people like are good at one thing, but then don't confine themselves to that one thing. Like continue to branch
A
out
la
and expand.
Donald Glover, who's like
Donald
good
Glover.
at everything.
Rihanna.
Oh my
Shouts
goodness.
out Bad Girl Riri. Oh my god.
What?
Okay, so Rihanna, like obviously known for her music.
Yeah.
She did acting as well, but
Okay.
like her
Didn't even know
makeup
she did
line,
acting.
she has like a whole makeup company. It's called Fendi.
Fenty.
Dude, it's worth like hundreds of millions of dollars.
Oh, unlike
itself.
Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop.
But yeah, well, that is a sham.
Actually, she's
That
probably
is
making a
stupid.
shitload of money from
She
Goop.
probably made a
Yeah.
decent amount of money, but a lot of people can read through her bullshit. But
You
like,
see-
Fendi's
so
a
you would
legit
hope.
product.
I'm gonna be fully honest. The problem is like half of Goop I could get behind. I know people think I'm fucking crazy, but I'm not.
Okay,
I'm not gonna go into it. I
no,
don't.
go ahead, please.
No, I
You're
don't
making
know.
a good
I don't,
point. Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. Like I don't. Listen.
You are standing on this hill waving your flag. You better defend that hill.
You're gonna die on this hill, Phil. Go ahead.
Listen, okay, all right. The only real things I've seen on Goop is just a video from JonTron that I watched. Okay, all right.
I've seen the same video.
All right. Okay. So I don't really understand her, but I was like, okay. So as you know, I'm a believer in karma, but behind that, I'm like generally a believer in reincarnation and like just energy and like all these things that are like non-physical that we don't really have an understanding of yet. So like when she talks about like, oh, these like healing energy crystals. All right. I'm not gonna say they're legit, but I'm also not gonna say they're bullshit. So that's just one example. I don't know.
Well, the tough part is it's like we don't have like
We don't have science to back it up.
we don't have.
There's no
science
way to
back
measure
up.
it
There's no
whatsoever.
way to measure
Numbers
it
don't
too.
lie.
Numbers
There are
don't
no
lie.
numbers associated with the goop. Where are the numbers for the goop?
Where are the goop numbers, man?
This candle smells like my vagina.
That's really kind of attractive.
It's kind of gross. Listen, I think we have had a great discussion on video games. I think we've covered a lot of topics that are important to us and in general the gaming community. Autry, is there anything else?
No, legit, dude. You've got like papers, like real quick before we
I'm down
wrap
to talk
up.
about anything.
That's actually
I-
going to be the DLC.
No,
You're going to have to
seriously.
pay for that.
I have
Pay to play, baby.
Legit though, I've got some. If you want to delve into something else, you can. If not, that's fine.
Dude, I feel like I'm perfectly okay with everything that we've discussed so far today.
Fair.
If anything, the last thing that I would like to end on is I just want to get like from all of us, like, what are like your top 3 favorite video games that you've ever played?
Oh, okay.
It's tough, right? I'll give you some time to think about it. I can go first if you like.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
My top 3, in no particular order,
Okay.
I would say BioShock 1,
Oof.
Resident Evil 4. The third is a little bit of a toss-up. That's where it starts to get a bit shaky. I could possibly say like the Resident Evil 2 remake. I could say like Metal Gear Solid 3. I could even say Knights of the Old Republic. You know what? I'll settle on Metal Gear Solid 3. But definitely BioShock 1 was such an influential game to me. You've played BioShock?
To be honest, I own the trilogy on Steam, and then they came out with the remastered version, and I still haven't played it because I tried to play it, and something I just didn't like about it.
You know, if you own BioShock 1 on Steam, you get the remastered version for free.
Yeah, like I have the remastered version, so
Yeah.
I just haven't. I don't know.
Are you at least familiar that the main character has like tattoos across both of his wrists that are like the chain links?
Like the one you have?
Like the one I have.
Like the one you have? Yeah.
It's just a game that has left a heavy mark on me. I think that it was so inventive and creative. It was unlike any other game that anybody had seen at the time. All of the concepts were so fresh and original, and like it was just a game that greatly impacted like that imaginative spark in my mind and really just like set it ablaze. Like there was really quite literally no other game like it at the time of its release. It left a heavy impact on me.
I played some BioShock. Really good game. Not like outright a horror game, but will keep you on your toes.
Yeah.
Kind of game.
Yeah.
Very good game. Phil, do you have your 3?
Yeah, I'd probably have to say, again, in no particular order, but probably in order, maybe. The Halo saga, generally Halo Combat Evolved. I am a Halo Combat Evolved purist. If I get very frustrated as the Halos go on that they're not like Combat Evolved, but that's just me personally. So Halo Combat Evolved, probably Rainbow Six Vegas 2.
Wow.
Yeah, Rainbow Six
Okay.
Vegas 2 is where it's freaking at.
That's a real gamer
That's
answer
a
right
real-
there. I
that's
gotta
it.
say.
Oh, my
and
goodness.
probably third in the row. Wow, I literally had it in my head. Oh, Skyrim.
Yeah.
Skyrim. So
Good
probably it's probably Combat
pick.
Evolved, Halo Combat Evolved, Rainbow Six Vegas 2, and Skyrim.
I think what you said about Skyrim in regards to the mods just kind of takes it to that next level. I mean, I will
Yeah.
agree that Oblivion
Yeah.
had like
Better-
more content.
Yeah,
more,
better in depth.
Yeah, the depth of it was a lot. It was just greater.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would probably have to go in no particular order.
Following Yoshi's trend.
Sonic Adventure 2.
Wow, that's
Wow,
so
a Sonic game?
Curve.
Are you
ball.
kidding me? You know,
Right
Sonic
there.
games have been like historically regarded as bad
Ripped
all the way
apart.
through.
Ripped apart. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
my goodness,
Oh,
that's
yeah, that-
crazy.
And there's my hill. It was the first game that I really grinded on. I was like 8, and it's left an impression on me. I still play it with Sarah when I get the
hilarious.
chance. She has an
Wow.
original Dreamcast,
Whoa.
which
That's
is
legit.
so much fun. Is it a great game in terms of graphics? No.
But what is?
But it's not always about the look. It's about the feel and it's about the connection you have with that game.
That's
Yeah,
why
exactly.
I literally
Yeah,
still
so-
play Oblivion.
That's up
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Fable 2, that got me into RPGs in general. Never looked back. That I owe it to. I put hours into that. And then my third, I want to say Rainbow Six Vegas 2 because like that really, I mean that was like the first FPS I ever played. Along with, I mean, we just put hours into that game. It's
Yeah.
so good. The ragdoll,
Dude,
in that
Autry, have you
game,
played that game?
incredible.
Vegas 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Dude, like as messed up as this sounds, okay? Games make people more violent. Okay, no, I just straight up disagree because I feel like I am one of the least violent people. But then again, I don't know. But like, you shoot someone in the head and they just drop, right? In most games I play now, you shoot someone and they do this stupid canned animation. They go flying back, or like they do like the
I mean, I almost
Dragon
hate to
Ball Z
agree, but
thing.
it does have a very satisfying feel to
Yeah,
it.
like you
the,
kill someone
the
and they
thought
just
of
like,
watching another man hit the floor lifeless, cold,
dude, right?
it just gets me going,
because
man.
their brain shuts off and their body just collapses.
Well,
And
games
like,
could never
yes.
be. We've had this conversation before. I think I've had it with both of you. Like, games could never be that immersive.
Because
where,
at that
you're
point you just get
having
trauma.
PTSD.
Yeah.
PTSD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't do that. But I appreciate the slight effort to make it feel like you're like some sort of special ops soldier, like infiltrating an area full of enemies, and you're like using tactics and maybe use a silencer and things like that. So I'd probably have to go Vegas too.
Yeah.
That's that. I mean, I don't think there's anything else in competition. I mean, obviously, there's so many games that I enjoy.
Yeah, that game came out.
Yeah, it's tough to make a
12
list,
years ago.
honestly.
Right.
Well, this year will be 13 years since that game came out. And it's still one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Autry, do you have any platforms that you want to advertise?
Any
Any streaming services, any YouTubes,
no,
anything?
not in the slightest, not even a little bit.
That's
But
good.
I will say thank you guys so much for having me here,
Dude,
and letting me
honestly,
record this with you. Getting to like reconnect with you both like over the podcast medium has been so much fun, and admittedly, I was honestly like a little bit nervous heading into this. I wasn't quite sure how it was gonna go, but this has just been an absolute blast, man. I was so happy to be here.
I legitimately can't understand why you don't use your voice, because I think ever since I met you in high school, you just have this you just have one of those voices that I listen to and I'm like, that's a soothing voice.
I was saying it in the car.
Yeah, like you're a radio voice or something like that. Like my voice.
I get that
is
a lot
not,
of work, honestly.
My voice is not that kind of way. Like I don't know. I like hearing you talk. I think the people who are gonna listen to the episode are gonna like hearing you talk, because you've just this
and the things that you say too, combined with the voice,
it's great.
butter, man.
It's butter.
I mean,
it's
you have a lot.
Well,
of
hey, if you
things to
want
say.
to hear any more of it in the future, you guys know where to find me. I'd love to come back for a repeat at some
where it's
point.
at.
I think that's definitely in order.
Well, So
thank you guys.
timeforanything.com.
The numbers do not lie.
The numbers don't
numbers
lie.
never lie.
Timeforanything.com has content that is not on any other platform. We have any resources that we've collected, like, I don't know, YouTube links or article links.
It's the hub. We got bloopers.
it's the hub.
We pitch the bloopers all the time.
We've
They're
got
funny.
bloopers on there. That's the only place you'll find bloopers.
Probably going to have a lot of good ones from this episode,
I
actually.
really hope so. And
The
that's
beginning
also
was funny.
Yeah, and that's also where you'll find our other projects page, which has some other stuff on there that we work on. And I mean, it has links to all our socials, which I'm sure you could find on Instagram or anything else. But we're on tons of different podcasting platforms. So timeforanything.com. Autry, you have been amazing.
Thank you so
It has
much
been
for having me.
fantastic to have you on here.
Great to be back.
Any final words from any of you?
Really enjoy yourself out there. If you don't play video games, give something a try. Maybe if you know someone who plays in games hard, ask them for recommendations.
Give it a shot.
It's a great outlet, and you can find yourself having a lot of fun doing it. We had a lot of fun talking about it.
Absolutely.
For sure.
See you next time.